Heads up, this demo is a super early build of Hellpoint, so it's glitchy and incomplete. Keep in mind that everything's subject to change and we may visit this game again later on. A lot of Kickstarters release early demos or builds of their games to drum up excitement and help reach their goals. For the most part, demos are in one of two states. They're either overly polished vertical slices that end up being way better than the final product, or they're underdeveloped and end up driving people away from the project instead of towards it. It's not often that a Kickstarter demo comes along that's right in the middle, that development sweet spot that shows the devs actual progress, glitches, jankiness, and all. Hellpoint's demo lands itself right smack dab on the dime of development goodness. It's far from perfect. It has plenty of bugs, translation errors, some bad sound effects, and general jank all around. But the core of the game shines really well. The main mechanics of the game are there and they work great in the relatively small level that you're given to play through. The demo itself can probably be completed in a little over an hour, but I've put in maybe 4 just playing through it with different builds and trying different things. I've even played through a decent chunk of it in multiplayer just so I could see what it's like. Suffice to say, I'm actually pretty impressed with it and I'm having a blast. There are a couple of things that Hellpoint does differently from other Souls-likes that makes it worth mentioning. The first and arguably biggest is that there's a system that controls events and changes the level based on the time in game. The space station that you're exploring is orbiting a black hole, which is kind of the cause for all the craziness that's going on, and as time passes and your position relative to the black hole changes, areas and secrets become available. There are also random events and things like that that'll happen, like walking into a room only to be confronted by a huge wave of enemies. Strong mini-bosses will spawn at times and roam the station. Some enemies will become stronger, more aggressive, and at times they'll actually cower and run away from you. This is a really cool system. It makes the game more dynamic, and the constant shifting makes backtracking and exploring areas that you've already been to worth it, and at times a huge risk. It adds a lot of personality to the space station that you're exploring. It kind of gives it a mind of its own, and it keeps players from getting too cocky since things could be pretty different from the last time they were in any given spot. The next thing that's pretty cool is that there's a system with weapons that seems like it was inspired by Dark Souls 3's weapon arts. As you use a weapon, it'll level up, unlocking bonuses and special abilities. From what I've seen, weapons that can level up have 3 skills that you can unlock, and then you can cycle through them on the fly. These are pretty playstyle defining, and having a good mix of different weapons can be pretty key to survival at times, or at least to having fun. At first, I was worried that this system would make it so that you just stick to one weapon, but honestly, that's just not how it ended up being. The skills are so different on each weapon that having multiple leveled up is really useful and can give you some diversity. Another thing of note is how death is handled. When you die, you lose your experience, called axioms here, but instead of being a bloodstain or getting sucked up into an enemy, they form a sort of ghost of yourself that you need to beat in order to reclaim your axioms. The ghost is in the general area of where you died and kind of wandering around. It's usually lumped in with whatever enemies killed you, and it makes it work as a really interesting punishment for death. Apart from that, it's pretty standard Souls-like fare. Intense combat based on attack animations and stamina management, lots of exploration, tough enemies, tougher bosses, and a lot of dying. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot to mention, it has split-screen multiplayer. Playing through with the +1 is ridiculously fun. Right now, only player 1 actually gets saved, which is a damn shame. I really hope they implement a profiles feature so that when player 2 or 3 or 4 hops in, they can choose their character and pick up from where they left off. Split screen has a long way to go as far as optimization is concerned. Since it's rendering everything twice or 3 or 4 times, it can cause quite a bit of trouble for the frame rate, especially when you get 4 people playing. But I mean, it really is just so much fun. It adds a lot to the game, being able to play an intense and difficult game like this with 3 of your friends just sitting together. It's so much fun. I'm really excited to play through the final version with at least 1 friend. It's also worth noting that when you play with 4 players, you don't see any of your HUD and menu options are cut off. They're not sized down. And I think this kind of stands to show that 4 players are probably not intended. This may have been some kind of bug or something like that, or they're just not ready to fully support that. But I hope they do, because it's a lot of fun. There's also a lot of lore going on in the background, lots of cosmic horror style stuff, and really crazy sci-fi demons from space hell all over the place. The universe is really interesting, and I can't wait to explore it further and really delve into its inner workings. The demo for Hellpoint is free on Steam, so if anything I said sounds cool, then you have absolutely no reason to not go and give it a whirl. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Indie Bytes. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please remember to leave a like and subscribe for more stuff like this. Be sure to check out the other content that we put out on this channel, and remember to drop me a line here on Twitter or through email with any game recommendations that you've got. You can find all that stuff down in the description below. I'll see you next time. Bye!